friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I have a rec video of one of my favorite tropes, which is bully romances. So if you have not already seen my other recommendation for bully romances, I suggest you check it out. I will leave it down in the description, but these are just some of the recommendations of some bully romances that I have read recently that I really think that you will enjoy. First up, we have Start a Fire. So this is not your typical bully romance in that they're pushing her against lockers, maybe the whole school is getting involved. This is actually about a guy who becomes obsessed with the heroine. There is like a brief sort of prickly interaction between them, but this is basically about a heroine who goes to this school. I believe she's new, and she kind of falls in with this group of like edgy skater kids at her school, and one in particular is kind of like the broody bad boy. She starts working at this skate shop that he visits, and they have some prickly interactions, and then one day they go to a party together, and he just like seems to not want to leave her alone. This definitely has some dubcon in it, and this is just him being completely obsessed with her. It is bullying in the way that he's very aggressive and forward with her. He doesn't really let up. He's constantly in her face, like constantly demanding things from her, not listening to the things that she says, that sort of thing. And like shows up at her apartment and like wants her attention, those sorts of things. And it just like is very angsty, and it's a good one. I really enjoyed it. Again, it's not like that traditional bully romance, but I would say it's like ramped up, because it's not necessarily that he's mean, but he's just like overwhelming her senses and like not letting her breathe. So then we have Touch of a Villain, and this is much more your stereotypical bully romance. This girl moves in with her father, her stepbrother, and her stepmother into this town, and her mother has recently passed away, and she moves in and she has this like fiery kiss with one of the guys that kind of rules the school. He's like the rich boy, he has like his whole group of friends, you know, that whole scenario. And then he realizes that she is the stepsister to this guy that he does not like for reasons that we find out later on in the book. And he starts to hardcore bully her, but he understands that like he's attracted to her, like he feels that attraction, and he's kind of convinced that he wants to ruin her but also doesn't. This is very like on and off, but to me it was like the perfect amount. I don't like when the majority of the book is on and off, but this just had like the perfect amount of angst. You can argue like the validity behind the bullying, but I really enjoyed this one. I think it's a good like angsty story, if not a little typical. So then we have Savage, and this was actually a more recent read for me, and I loved this one. So this is about a motorcycle family. So the heroine's dad runs a motorcycle gang. He moves in, the sister to one of the guys in the club, and that is the hero. So the hero is like, he's in the club, but he's training, he's gonna be like VP one day. And after his mother passes away, the heroine's dad moves him and his sister in, and they think that there is a rival gang after them, because there's like some unrest going on in that gang. So he enlists the help of the hero and one of the hero's friends to protect the heroine and the hero's sister. And they don't really like her. They kind of like think she's like this princess, but they both separately really are like into her. So this is a reverse harem between the hero, his friend, and a guy that I think is going to come later on down the series. But yes, this was fantastic. The heroine is definitely not meek and mild. She's very much like an MC princess. She wants to be involved in everything, and like the bully elements were fantastic. The angst is fantastic, and this is definitely one of the better ones that I've read thus far, and just like super fun time. So then we have The Bully. This is actually a book in the Kingmaker series, but I would hazard a guess that you could start here or read this as a standalone if you wanted. It's not advised by the author, so like if you want to listen to what the author says, she says that you should read the series, but I think personally that you could read it as a standalone. This is my favorite in the series. So you are following Dean. Earlier in the series was kind of viewed as like this villain. He tried to kill some of the previous main characters, but throughout the series he has kind of gotten this arc of redemption, which I think is why people recommend that you read the series, because the impact of his redemption is like more impactful if you read the whole series, but I still think that you can read this by itself. So you are starting this book off with Dean and his heroine. It's kind of a secret, so I'm not going to tell you her name just in case you read the whole series, but in the beginning or the end of the previous book, he found out a secret about his heroine that he starts blackmailing her with, and basically says like, if you do not pretend to be my servant for however long I deem you, I'll reveal this secret to everybody. And so they enter into this like sub-dom relationship, and it's a beautiful, beautiful romance. It's definitely bully. They do some like, he does some very humiliating things to her, and she is very meek and mild in the beginning. But the transformation of the two of them as characters inside and outside of the relationship is fantastic, and the redemption arc for Dean is just brilliant. This is definitely heavy into like degradation aspect of dom sub, so, and that doesn't just stay like in the bedroom, but their relationship is just fantastic. So then we have Wicked Night. So this is about a girl who moves to her father's hometown, and she doesn't really know much about what her father does. All she knows is that they're extremely wealthy, and she has been trained to protect herself her whole life. So they move back to this town, and everybody seems to hate her, and she doesn't understand why. And the night before school is supposed to start, she hooks up with a guy in the cemetery, and she actually sees this guy at school, and he recognizes who she is, and he immediately starts bullying her. He recognizes who she is and who her family is, and then that starts this whole tension bubble between them. All of his friends get involved in the bullying, and we see the heroine again being a great mafia princess. This is a mafia romance, even though she doesn't really know it. She is strong, tough, she can really defend herself. So it's more like antagonism between the two of them and not really bullying, because she definitely stands up to him, but the angst again between the two is just so good. And then the last recommendation that I have for you is Cruel Prince. This is probably my least favorite on this list, just because I don't think the hero's groveling was enough, but basically this heroine comes back to her old school after like a break, and she comes back, and her ex-best friend is the bully to her because he thinks that she caused harm to someone in his family. He bullies her, but he's always had this like draw to her as well. They were a thing when they were kids in middle school before she like left. And so he has very conflicting feelings. This is the definition of back and forth, back and forth. I think it went on a little too long, but this overall is again good for that like push and pull if that's what you're looking for. Again, I don't think the groveling was good enough, so that was part of the reason that this got 3 stars instead of 4 stars, but overall, still a good bully romance. So those are all of the recommendations that I have for you. Let me know down in the comments whether you plan to read any of these romances. I would love to know. Other than that, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.